Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we'll be talking with Julia about stepping into your Yasss era. That's right. We are naming and claiming the energy we want to develop ultimately the best, most strongest relationship with yourself. And then later, we'll be talking with a fellow crew member, Susan, about a dating story, dilemma, question. Maybe you can relate. Stay tuned.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt.
Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt.
Delulu is the Salulu.
Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt. Welcome to this episode of the Flirtations Flirtcast. We have Julia with us today. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. It's so nice to see you again.
It's really nice to see you too. Yeah, we recorded an episode for your podcast a little bit ago, which is out. Everyone can listen to it.
Yes, people loved it. People are joining softball leagues as we speak.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Tell the flirties a little bit about you. Yeah, your podcast. What would you like to share?
Yeah, so I'm Julia Mazur. I host Pretty Much Done. It's a weekly podcast. And it's a dating and relationships podcast, but I really tell people it's mostly focused on the relationship you have with yourself. So my story is that I worked at Tinder for 6 years. I was very much on the dating apps. I'm a Russian Jewish girl who grew up hearing the rhetoric of get married, have kids. And so I spent a decade of my 20s finding myself on dating apps, trying to find that husband and trying to have that white picket fence life. And then I was finding myself in really good on paper relationships, but I was very unfulfilled. I was like, is this kind of it? And so I just told myself that I didn't want to settle. I hope that other people don't realize that they don't have to settle. And so I started to bring people on. I started my podcast and I bring people on every week who teach us that, you know, you don't have to settle. Being single isn't something to be ashamed of. You get to enjoy your life. You get to figure out what it is that you really want from life. And I'm a believer, obviously I'm still single, but I'm a believer that the more in touch I get with who I am, the more I'm going to attract a like-minded partner, and that'll come. And I don't have to worry, and I don't have to let society shame me into getting into some relationship only to appease other people. Like, I really want to be deeply fulfilled in my life. And I hope that people who listen to the podcast with guests like yourself find themselves feeling more sure of who they are.
Yeah. And that's, as we talk about all things being in your yes era and really sort of embracing being single, talk about mindset and different dating strategies as well today. I really want to hear more about how you started to make that transition to just having a stronger connection with yourself and sort of, I'm very curious to hear more about that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like any millennial girl who is in her 30s, it was like late 20s. I went on this obviously self-healing journey.
Yes.
I was in a super toxic relationship in COVID, and I really didn't want to be with this person. He wouldn't let me leave. He really liked the idea of me, but didn't love me for who I was. And so as a last ditch attempt for us to kind of rectify this relationship, we got into couples therapy. I always tell everyone that the couples therapy didn't last, but the therapy lasted. I'm so grateful to him because he introduced me to my now therapist, whom I love, and kind of went on this journey with her. I felt like when I was in those couples therapy sessions, it almost was like a mirror where I would look at her and I was like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing these things? And so I managed to get out of the relationship, and I just went on this journey because I was like, she told me in our first session, she asked me this question. She was like, what do all of the men you've dated have in what do all the men you've dated have in common? And I thought about it, and I spent the weekend, and I was like, well, I feel like a lot of them are funny, a lot of them are sarcastic, a lot of them I was trying to figure it out. And I came to her and I was like, well, I think it's this. I came to her on the next session and she was like, no, the reality is what they all have in common is you. Like you were choosing these partners.
Why did you plot twist? That I would have been doing the homework as well.
Totally, totally. And I was like, okay, first of all, like we just met, you don't have to go that hard. But
Right.
also, like, so grateful to her because I realized, like, yes, it was me choosing these partners and what were the unhealed parts of myself that were. And I figured out through extensive therapy and like doing the work was, I grew up overweight. I was like overweight my entire life. At my
Mm-hmm.
heaviest weight, I was 208 pounds. And then I lost a lot of weight. Like now I think I've lost like 70 pounds in my entire weight loss journey.
Wow.
But once I became what I thought was desirable to men and I started getting more male attention, I wanted to prove to myself, like that inner girl who was overweight, I could be desired by men. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
would treat every man as like, I'm going to win you over. And like,
Yeah.
you didn't maybe like me in high school or middle school. And like, I'm going to show you. But attracting people to validate yourself, like, if that's the basis of any relationship, that's not going to last very long.
Right.
And so I decided that I was going to start validating myself internally and working
Yep.
on that relationship I had with myself. And I got to this place where I was like, okay, like there is no like fat girl, skinny girl. There's just the girl. And like,
Right.
what am I? What do I love? Who am I? What are the things that I want to pursue? What is it in my career that I want? Where do I want to live? What makes me me? And so I started to really like date myself, get in touch with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know I kind of feel like I know exactly who I am now, and I attribute it to a lot of that work that I did.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this part.
Yeah.
I have so many follow-up questions, but I wanna, I just, like as much of a challenge as dating can be sometimes when we start to step into our yes era more and explore that connection with ourselves and start to date ourselves and use dating as a mirror in some ways, it can be also become more fun, but also powerful. And it's a great learning experience it becomes a self-teacher in many ways.
Mhm.
Yeah, how you're showing up, your patterns, if you're more so looking for that external validation versus validating yourself internally first. So I want to ask a little bit more about some ways that you explored internal validation and how you were able to, yeah, sort of what that meant for you, what that looked like.
Yeah, I think it was last year. It was like the beginning of last year that I decided I wanted to get really comfortable being alone with
Mm.
myself because I think that so many of us, and like I know my
Ugh,
old patterns were like Friday, Saturday, even Thursday, I'm hitting the bars and I'm going to
yeah.
go get a guy's number and I'm going to get attention from a guy. And I think that when we're so go, 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 it's almost like we're running from something. And
Hmm.
so I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. I was going to be really intentional with how I was spending my time. Not to say that I became a nun or a monk. Like I still think that you can go to the bar. I just thought that it was important to like really intentionally be alone for as much as I could.
Yeah.
And so I started to take myself out on like these solo dates. And I think that a big shift for me was I took myself on a weekend solo trip. And it
Mm.
wasn't very far. I lived in LA at the time. I went to Laguna Beach, which was about like an hour and a half drive.
Hmm.
I booked myself a stay and I made myself go out in the wild and do things alone and not care what people were going to think about me and like do the things that I wanted to do. So like I love the beach and I really enjoy journaling. So I took myself to the beach and journaled. I decided like I would get myself ice cream and not feel shame for it. I took myself out to like a bar and I sat at the bar and I made friends and I got all dressed
Yes.
up and I
Yes.
and I wasn't like afraid of it. And then I took myself to like a bougie dinner at this steakhouse and got myself crab legs and a
Hmm.
glass of wine. Like, and let me tell you something. Everywhere I went, people wanted to know my story. They're like, "Who is this girl in
Mm.
her
Who's that?
who
Yeah.
is that?" And then I didn't like meet my husband, or I met like couples, and they were like, "Who's this
Sure.
girl in her crop top and like heels
Uh-huh.
at the bar ordering crab legs? Like, we need to know." And it was so validating to me to know that feeling empowered to do that
Hmm.
allowed me to really relax and like meet people and feel really comfortable and confident. And then I went home and like watched How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and had like a great weekend. I just think that doing things that make you uncomfortable and then knowing you can do them and leaving those situations empowers you and like
Yeah.
instills confidence in you. And I think
Hmm.
that those solo dates, like now it's pretty easy for me to go do things alone. I mean, every once in a while I'm like, oh my God, what are people going to think? But like,
Hmm.
I'll bring a book. A book is always a conversation starter. I love to people watch. So like I like to
Hmm.
do that. I really
Hmm.
do. And like if you're someone who likes to people watch, great. If you're someone like yourself who like likes to be part of a sports league, obviously that first moment where you go put yourself in that situation is going to be scary and nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
but then you leave feeling so empowered like I did that.
Yeah.
And I think that I got a lot of confidence through that. And then obviously like I have my other rituals that I do where like I journal and I had for a long time on my mirror a saying that said you are enough. Like I have those reminders to myself
Hmm.
and I try and really limit the negative self-talk as much as possible and have gratitude for like what I do have instead of what I'm lacking.
Yeah. I think that's going to be really, really helpful for so many people. I know I got some great takeaways from that as well. And one of them is not waiting to go on dates or not waiting to be in a relationship to say yes to opportunities and things that you want to do. So if it's taking a solo trip, going to the beach, giving yourself permission to do that. Going like taking a book, going somewhere to a park, a cafe, taking yourself out to dinner, or it could be just you want to go shopping or you want to take a dance class or art class, whatever it may be, and allowing these to be opportunities to have conversations, right? And then detaching from the expectations that they have to lead to phone numbers or getting a first date or something like that, but just putting yourself first and giving yourself permission to just enjoy life in many ways.
Yeah, and I don't want to disqualify the fact that like being single does come with loneliness. Like I
Sure.
get it. Sunday nights are tougher. I get it, but I will say like if you're on the single journey and probably people who listen to this podcast are,
Hmm.
we're never going to have like this little responsibility in our lives again, hopefully. Like if you want to build a family, if you want to be with a partner, like you're going to have to make considerations for someone when you're in those situations. So
Yeah.
you get to like have this opportunity where if you want to go for the weekend somewhere you get to like
Do
if
it.
you want to go to dinner and eat Thai food tonight
Yep.
you don't have to ask anyone like you get to have the Thai food. So I really like urge people to see that side of the single journey and like
Hmm.
how wonderful that is, and you're not going to get it back if you waste it away feeling less than for being single.
That's true. Yeah, you want to watch the rom-com? It's you can pick whatever one you want. Press play. You want to press pause, finish it tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you're completely, in many ways, on your own timeline and on your own schedule. I
Totally.
I have a couple follow-up questions. I'm curious how, so you mentioned affirmations and journaling, I think being two really important self-care practices, but for the person, I know this is true for me too. I've really had to grow into my confidence. But
Mhm.
even still, if I'm taking myself out, maybe to a solo dinner, I will oftentimes go to the movies by myself. There's a little bit of this self-judgment, self-criticism that can come into play. Like, what are people maybe thinking about me? Are people gonna
Mhm.
know? Like, I'm single, I'm doing something that's sort of a couples or like a friends activity by myself. So how do you maybe quiet some of those judgments and the nerves as well?
Yeah. I mean, you know what I do, like really tactically speaking, is
Mm-hmm.
like I will text my best friend, and my best friend is married. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, Olivia, like I'm feeling nervous to go to the bar. What do I do? And she is like my biggest hype man. She's like, go. Like, you
Yeah.
have to tell me the story of what happens after you do it. And so that's like super tactical. But something that this woman was on my podcast, Brittany Allen, and she does something called the me moon. Like she's coined this term called the me moon, which is like the honeymoon for yourself because she's single.
Okay.
And she reminded me, like, let's say people are going to stare at you. Like, think about like where you were 4 days ago. at if you were like at a restaurant or if you were anywhere, like, do you remember who was sitting alone or not? Like, I
Absolutely
truly
not.
no.
No.
Like, I truly have forgotten what happened yesterday, let alone a few days ago. So even if they maybe judge you in that moment, which I highly doubt because people are so busy and kind of concerned with their own lives, they will forget. And the only person you're doing a disservice to by not doing the things that you want to do is yourself.
True.
So I think it's like just remembering that.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, we all are. So, who knows what someone is going through in their own life and their own mind on any given day. And truly, like, I mean, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. Like, I do not know what happened at the coffee shop a week ago if someone was there, maybe on a solo date or just enjoying some time by themselves. I have no idea.
One of my favorite pastimes is going to a coffee shop and
Uh-huh.
fantasizing about every cute person there. Like I am totally building a rom-com in my life. So
Yes.
they might be thinking like, "Oh my God, are people judging me?" I'm like, "No, we're dating in my head."
I love a Delulu moment. I have also had many romantic experiences with people that don't know me.
Totally. And that's fun. And like you get to
It
do
is
that
so
when you're
fun.
single because
You
when you're in a
do.
relationship, you can't really fantasize in that way. It's not maybe not appropriate. I don't know. Maybe
Hmm.
you can, but like in my head, I'm like, we're getting married. You can't think that when you're in a
Oh yeah,
relationship.
it is definitely there's some limits and boundaries to the
Yeah.
fantasy when you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to. So a theme that's come up thus far is that of being alone when you're single versus feeling lonely. And so I want
Mm.
to sort of break down those two terms and just sort of tease out the differences a little bit. And perhaps there's some similarities as well. So very curious to hear just your take on that.
Sure. I mean, my therapist pointed out to me, and like I understand this, there is a human need for connection. Like
Yes.
we all are born in that way. And like that is something that is just a human need and a human desire. So like I honor that. And I think that like platonic love that I have with my friendships is very different from romantic love.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that I'm not alone in so many aspects of my life because I have
Mm.
so many buckets of my life. And
Yeah.
I have like my friend buckets, I have my family buckets, I have my career buckets, like my hobby buckets, like and I have my self-love bucket for sure. The romantic bucket is like not always full, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I will have a crush and sometimes I don't. Right now I'm in a period where I haven't had a crush in a minute and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of frustrating or lonely,
Yeah.
that feeling passes. It really does. Because then, like, no, if you're feeling lonely today, like it could be a week, it could be a month, and like you will feel something different. And
Yeah.
I just feel like healing and probably similar to like loneliness is not linear. You're gonna
Yes.
have your good days and you're gonna have your bad days, but like that's why like life is just like that. That's why we appreciate the good moments because we have the bad moments. And if it wasn't like that, like I don't know that life would be worth living if it was all just like the same homeostasis.
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be some variety in there. And I agree with you. I think yeah, especially when you're single, there's such a fine line between when you're feeling alone and when you're lonely. And something that has helped me is not equating the two. So perhaps like I'm in my one bedroom apartment with my cat, it's just the two of us. I may feel alone, but then, like you said, I do have like I've worked very intentionally and very hard to have people in my life that I can reach out to, friends, family, coworkers that have now become friends. And so when I need some of that connection in my life, when I'm feeling alone, I have people I can reach out to. Or maybe you have podcasts you love to listen to, movies, creators you follow. So there's so many ways we can explore and experience connection, and then distinguishing that from loneliness. And noticing it can be a very deep and internal feeling, but not having that become part of your identity, which has been the case for me, where it's like, oh, I am lonely because, right, I don't deserve love, or it
Mm.
hasn't worked out for me in the past, it never will again. Or like sort of separating those thoughts, feelings from what is a momentary state of being, even though it may not feel so momentary at times, that is is loneliness. Yeah, something that's helped me in the past.
Yeah, I think in those moments of loneliness, to your point, I do like to take action.
Mm,
And so I saw a life coach and she recommended having this nourishment menu, which I
hmm.
love. And it's like this list of 10 things that I can pull from that I know will kind of snap me out. And so
Yeah.
that's like take a yoga class, take a walk, listen to a podcast, as you mentioned. Like I know that if I'm pulling from those things, I can help snap myself out of that kind of rut.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, we both know this. We're hearing this anecdotally from everyone in our communities. Like,
Hmm.
everyone is so over the apps.
Yes.
And like, I think that
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think people are feeling more disconnected than ever, even though we're so connected via the
Hmm.
internet. I think that like when you go out in public, people want to connect and talk. Even if it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like someone that you want to date or be in a relationship with. Like I think people are so open right now because they're just so tired of having the same monotonous conversation over and over again on the apps. If you are feeling lonely and like you do want to go out, know that people want to hear from you. Like I think people want to hear from one another.
Yeah.
Truly. That's what I believe.
That is my biggest mission, excuse me, here at Flirt headquarters is all about just embracing and promoting connections in real life. Yeah, it's this weird dichotomy where we're more connected than ever. Like the whole world, if you have a phone and internet, is at your fingertips. And yet we go out in public and we move about our day and we can still feel disconnected and people aren't talking to one another. And so I think this is a good time to transition the conversation into exploring those in-person connections a little bit because to your point as well about taking action when I am feeling lonely, it's been hard, but like if I'm really in it, not just sitting with myself or by myself, but placing myself in a coffee shop. Maybe I'm not talking to other people, but I'm around that energy and I'm giving myself the opportunity to be like, hey, give someone a compliment or say hello or make eye contact or something like that. So a part of being in your yes era is we're going out, we're leaving the house
Yeah.
and we're doing some things. So how can we start to explore maybe finding situations or scenarios where we feel really comfortable to start making those connections?
I really like, I mean, we're recording this in May, and so we're on the precipice of summer. I've been
Mm-hmm.
calling it Feral Girl Summer. And I just think that I like the idea of creating a summer bucket list of things that you want to do and accomplish by the end of the summer. So that way you kind of like feel accountable. So
Hmm.
for me, for example, I recently moved to Austin. Like I heard about these night swims at this Barton Springs pool. I'm going to do
Mm.
that. There's like this place called Deep Eddy where like everyone's like, the burgers are so good. You go for a swim and then you get the burgers. Like, I want to do things
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm empowering myself because I'm checking things off my bucket list. I'm here for a job. Like, I'm here to accomplish the bucket list. If I'm at work, it feels less pressure than like, I'm going to go to these places because maybe a boy will come up to me. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
We are taking it and we are like, I'm doing this. Also bring a friend, like truly bring a friend if you want. And like, I like the idea of coming up to people and like asking debate questions. So I know everyone's into run clubs right now.
Hmm.
I like I came up with something of coming up to someone and being like, "Hey, can you like solve this debate for my friend and I? Our Hoka's the ugliest running shoe you've ever seen." Something where it's like fun and conversation starty.
Uh-huh.
I was hosting a dating event here in Austin. Obviously, not everyone's hosting a dating event, but I was just coming up to people and I was like, "Hey, like I'm hosting this dating event," because it made me feel like empowered and it made me feel like, oh my God, I'm like doing this for my boss, like my
Yeah.
co-host. Let's come up to people and like talk about dating hot takes and like, how we're feeling about dating. And then that just like allows you to connect naturally,
Hmm.
truly.
Hmm. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's a fantastic strategy. I love the I love that. Like that's kind of a flirt strategy that I sort of made up is the like the big bold claim statement or sort of like the big bold question. It's going to catch someone off guard. It's not the typical hello, how are you? Maybe a compliment. It's sort of like, oh, this is interesting. And it's putting you right into the conversation. You can get started right away without kind of going into the typical, back and forth to warm things up. So it's a great option just to approach people. So how can people find those events, those things, and start to explore like, yeah, what should I
And
do?
I know. I mean, you gave me this advice on my podcast where you were
Uh-huh.
like, Eventbrite is great
Yeah,
for
it's a good one.
that.
Hmm.
Okay, so I've been battling this because all the dating experts I have on my show say you should do things you love and you'll meet people doing those things.
Hmm.
My problem is that I love to go to drinks with my girlfriends and I like to go to
Hmm.
new restaurants
Hmm.
and I like to travel. Like,
Hmm.
I don't necessarily have adult hobbies. So
Okay.
I can't run for longer than 5 minutes at a time. I'm not joining a run club. Like, I can't.
Fair. Uh-huh.
That would be so disingenuous too. But I know all the cute people are at run clubs. Every time I'm driving in my car, I'm like, oh my God, all the hot people are running. I feel like you kind of have to do the things that are true to you and not
Hmm.
force them. I mean, I'm hosting these dating events and like I am manifesting for myself that I'm taking them nationally. Like I really hope it's called Hot
Please.
Takes. It's called Hot Takes
Please.
Hot Dates. Yeah.
We need
And
it.
I think it's so fun because I think that when I came up with this concept with my co-host Joel, like I was like, we don't need any more speed dating. We don't need any
Yeah.
more networking. Let's just all be in a room with like single people.
Hmm.
And why we came up with it is because like him and I met through a friend and we were sitting and we were talking and I was like, oh my God, like I hate guys who wear ankle socks or no-show socks. And he like puts his pants up and he's like, I'm wearing
Hold
no-show
up.
socks.
Yeah, look at
Yeah.
this. I got
And
something
I'm
to show
like,
you.
totally. And then I'm like, I hate when people like sing unannounced. And he's like, I did that on a date yesterday. And I was like,
Oh my
well,
God. I do that at work all the time.
okay, well, obviously, like, yeah, totally.
Under my breath.
Totally. But I really like Joel and I really like you. So it's like,
Yeah.
why are we discounting people based on these little prompts that they have on their profiles or these ideas of the things that we think we hate? We just
Yeah.
need to connect and catch a vibe
Hmm.
now. So I'm hoping that people realizing, okay, reading these profiles is not really getting me to my goal of finding my person. Let's eliminate this pressure of like, I hate when a guy does this. If he doesn't text me back, the rules,
Yeah.
this. Let's just like be humans again.
The ick list. Like it becomes, right. I mean, one of my icks is when someone backs into a parking space. It's an ick for me. I'm not a fan. I'm a forward puller. Just pull right in. And that's the way it is. I don't have the patience. But I'm not going to disqualify a potential match or a boyfriend or a date if they hold up traffic and back into a parking space. It's going to be okay.
Can
We
I
can
tell
still
you
talk.
something? If I'm
Yeah.
in a car with a guy and he does the like arm on on my headrest and like turn around when he's
Yes.
reversing, that's the hottest thing ever.
I do. Let's get married. Where's the courthouse? I am right there with you. Yeah.
Okay, but he's backing in.
Okay. Well, if I'm in the car with them and that happens, and then we make eye contact and he does a little smile or grin, I have suddenly the ick has left the door. It has
Okay.
flown out the car window. No
Okay.
more ick. But
That's so funny. That is so funny.
yeah, we all have our icks for sure. But um, bringing it back to a conversation and connection and looking to move beyond that and truly get to know someone. So I love your strategy too of doing the things like in many ways living your everyday life. And so taking the pressure off yourself, like I've said this before, where your next great love, your next date, whomever is right around the corner. It may not be right at on a dating app specifically, or when you're dating in a specific way, you have to meet people in one way. Like I love a good meet cute moment, and it could be at the grocery store, or like you're at the gym even, or a coffee shop, or you're at one of your events. Like just being open to all the places we can make those connections, which is pretty much every day. Like if you leave your house, there's an opportunity.
Totally. And I hate this phrase, and I'm sure any single person hates this phrase. It happens when you least expect it.
Ugh, no. No.
That isn't it. That isn't it. But I do think the subtext of that and like the truth of that is like it happens when like you're doing the things that you love and enjoying your life and not feeling like less than for
Yeah.
anything. Like I
Yeah.
don't feel that like I think that I felt ashamed for the fact that I was 30 and moving to Austin and kind of starting my life over. I'm
Mhm.
really happy with all these decisions and I'm really happy with my life. And I know that the happier I am and the less I approach it from a place of like, I'm running out of time. Oh my God, all my friends are married. Oh my God, will I have? I'm like,
Yeah.
the universe has a plan. I'm just going to keep living my life. If I want to go two stepping tonight, I'm going to go two stepping tonight. If I want to go hang with this friend, I'm going to go hang with this friend. Like,
Hmm.
and that guy will just plop in when I'm happy. He's not going to
Yeah.
plop in when I'm desperate and like clinging on for dear life trying to meet this guy.
Right. Yeah, and I think it happens when you least expect it, right? Like there's some subtext to it which has some truth, but it doesn't mean you don't also work on yourself and look to internally validate yourself. Like there's so much that happens underneath the surface and behind the scenes within you that then allows you to be ready to be living your life and be open to just having a conversation, making a connection. That's ultimately how a meet cute moment starts. You're initially two strangers saying hello or asking each other a wild question about hookahs.
Totally. Yeah. And let me tell you something, and I'm saying this from experience.
Uh-huh.
The universe is not plopping that guy if you are pining over your crusty, dusty, rusty, musty ex.
Ugh,
Like you
not
can't
the
be like doing
dusty.
you can't be doing that. So it's like
No.
just tread forward, like just keep going. The universe has a guy for all of it. I believe it. So like you just got to live life and be happy.
Yeah, has a guy, a girl, a non-binary individual, a trans person, right? We all like
Yes.
I believe so much also in soul connections and like this idea that we only get one, like we have one sort of soul, like one person in the entirety of the world that is our person. Like it's such a romanticized take on dating, but I think also like a part of being in your yes era is just experiencing those soul connections. And one that comes to mind, like I couldn't tell you necessarily where I was or what day of the week it was, but driving in my car at a stoplight, you glance over, you sort of have that awkward eye contact moment with the person in the car beside you, and we were both just like jamming out, like singing completely different songs, just like dancing in the car, having an amazing time. We locked eyes, and then you know what? We smiled, we laughed, and we just kept going.
Oh,
Like
I
that
love
was
that.
just a mini. I don't know this person. I don't know their name. I'll probably never see them again. Maybe they're listening now. I don't know. But that was just a really cool, you know what? For that moment, I think our souls aligned. I think we had a similar experience, and I loved it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that says to me that the universe was maybe like giving you a sign of like, be exactly who you are,
Mm,
and you will feel like matched on that level. Like you will attract people who match that level. Cause like,
yeah.
obviously, I'm not jamming out, I'm not
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And I'll add here a one way to meet people that like if you tend to be perhaps more of the shy type like me, and you do want to sort of go that self-development route, so to speak, is finding something right you've always wanted to do, something you've been holding back on. It could be a creative writing class, yoga, something fitness related, anything, but then doing that thing and committing to doing it consistently.
Mm.
So if it's every week, if it's every other week, because I love this strategy for more of the shy types, introvert types, where once you start to become comfortable in a certain setting, it becomes familiar. You're seeing some of those same faces over and over again, detaching from the expectation, right, that your person, the one person is going to be there, but ultimately being there for yourself. And it just it just sort of opens your eyes and takes like if you're always looking for the date, the person, right? Who am I gonna sort of
Hmm.
talk to? Inevitably, like you could be looking right past them. And
Yeah.
so just
Yeah.
doing something for yourself, but doing something consistently can really help just with nerves as you get more comfortable. You do something, yeah, the same thing over and over.
I like that strategy a lot because I think about like the first time I'll go to a workout studio versus like the fifth time. I know
Yeah.
where like the weights are. I know
Yes.
what the class is going to entail. Like it is truly like this confidence that you bring in where you feel good in your skin.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I want to ask you this question. This one came from Flirtstagram,
Okay.
and it's how do you get over dating fatigue, burnout, and jump back into dating without being jaded?
Totally. I think that if you, first of all, love the like self awareness and I love
Mm-hmm.
people recognizing dating burnout. If you are burnt out on dating, just get off the apps. Like, I mean that. Pause them, get off of them. Do not date, be out of dating fatigue. Like, someone asked me a question on Instagram recently, being like, how do I get back on the apps? I don't want to, but I know I have to get back out there. My therapist like offered a reframe for me in so many ways, like so many different scenarios, but you choose to. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. It's when it becomes a choice for you of something that you want to do is when you should be doing that thing.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're feeling dating burnout, take a break and go pour into things that you want to do. Right now it's summer and like people are breaking up. It feels less pressure filled. Like go make that bucket list and do the things that you want to do because I'm telling you, you're gonna have 100 times more joy doing that than going
Yeah.
on a first date with someone and coming home and be like, why'd I go on that date?
Mm. Yes, this is sort of this weird duality of embracing more yes is also being willing to say no to
Yes,
the
yes.
places, the people, the things, the experiences that just aren't serving you. And so if you're having true dating fatigue, yeah, I think your point is fantastic. It might be saying no to the dating apps or no to even dating at the moment and filling your own cup, your own buckets.
Dating will always be there. It's there.
That's true.
It's not going anywhere. So
It will
just
be
we'll be there.
that is true. It's yeah, I think breaks can be very important, but then also like if you're taking sort of an extended break, like maybe more than 2 to 3 months, like so much about dating is also momentum. And
Mm,
so you might find like if you're getting back into dating after a little bit of a break that you are a little bit out of practice, so to speak, but that's
yeah.
okay. You can get the momentum right back. It's not like you completely forgot how to date. If anything, you're going to come into it with a renewed sense of self and probably a better strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
For sure.
All right. I'm curious. I want to hear now a little bit about talking about boundaries. And so, like, so we're saying yes to lots of things, lots of experiences, feeling very excited. Feral Girl Summer. For me, I have declared this Hoochie Daddy Summer.
Love.
We are doing short shorts, right? Sort
Love.
of like shirts unbuttoned to the midriff, little
So
bit of a
cute.
roll up sleeves, a necklace, Hoochie Daddy Summer.
Oh
So,
my God. It sounds really hot. By the way, you would thrive in Austin. Like
oh
the
my
hoochie
God, would
daddies are
I?
out. Yeah.
Oh,
First of all, you have a mustache. You're already
I
in.
do.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's all you need in Austin.
I've only been there I was there for less than 24 hours many years ago. I was moving from the West Coast back to the East Coast. And I was traveling with my friend Heather. And that was like when she was like, we were going to take this, I don't know, whatever route. And she was like, no, we're going the route that takes us through Austin. And we went out and we had an amazing time.
Austin's great. And I was
Yeah.
like at this public pool on at Tuesday on at 2 p.m.
Mhm.
Everyone was there. Like I'm like,
Have you
none of us have jobs.
have you seen this has been all over all over social media. Maybe I saw it on Twitter or X, but like that picture of 2 p.m. in Austin and everyone's tanning at the
And that person was like, I'm buying the stocks. Like
Yes.
that was hilarious. That was me,
Yeah.
by the way. I was there.
Oh, it would have so
Um,
been me. Yeah.
that's so funny. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You would thrive here.
Oh,
Everyone is trying to make it. I say it's millennial camp. Like, I swear
yeah.
we're all like, okay, we're hitting the pool. We're going to
Yeah.
go walk the lake. We're going to go two-stepping. And we're all trying to like build our businesses. It's so funny.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, because I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which is a part of a much larger metro.
Yeah.
But Chapel Hill itself, we're talking like 60-ish thousand. Definitely college town,
Yeah.
right? So I'm 38. I'd say it skews a little bit younger. But next door we have Carborough, which is like it's a little bit more hippie, a little bit more crunchy. And
Okay.
that's a vibe. So maybe a little bit like Austin, but also very different.
Yes, yeah, totally. This Uber driver yesterday, he was from North Carolina. Sorry, I'm
Uh-huh.
belaboring this, but
Yes.
he was like, Austin is like, he's like, North Carolina is the sister who went to college and has her shit together. And like Austin is the one who like didn't. And she's like kind of the black sheep. And I'm like, that tracks.
Oh, I love Austin.
Yeah,
Okay,
come.
I think I need to plan a
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah, I'll be here. We'll go feral girl, hoochie daddy. That's so
Oh,
funny.
what a combo. Austin, I hope Austin's ready. I think it is.
I think it is. Yeah.
So how we're saying yes to like so many things. How can we maybe manage our energy, sort of boundaries if we're meeting people and now we're going on dates and starting to maybe feel overwhelmed, something like that. Yeah. Want to offer some people some strategies there.
Yeah, my best strategy for saving yourself time with dating apps and dating is before you say yes to going on a date with someone, I like to hop on a phone call. And my
Mm,
strategy for doing that is I say, they're like, "Hey, let me know what your week is like." I'm like, "Amazing. Yes. How do you feel about a phone call this week?" I'm a big phone call gal. I'm a big
yeah.
phone call guy. I'm a big phone call person. And I think that that helps alleviate. So I've weeded out two dates now from that strategy because I'm just like,
Yep.
okay, no, we don't vibe on the phone and it's totally fine and no hard feelings. And I think it's like better to be honest up front. I also think that carving out, I'm learning how to do this too because I just moved
Hmm.
here and I'm trying to say yes to everything. Not doing the best job if I'm honest, but
Hmm.
I think that this week I knew that this weekend I'm going to be out and about. I'm like, okay, no going out Monday and Tuesday. I think it's having that routine where it's like taking those workout classes that are super important. My workout classes are heated, so I look crazy after. Like just carving out that me time for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I think that's a great two really, really good strategies. I love that the phone call has become more and more prominent as
Yeah.
sort of like this screener in many ways. Yeah, can they hold a conversation? Is there a vibe? Like, are they asking questions? And if they can't do, and like if they can't have a phone call, like I know we can get nervous on the phone. It's true for me sometimes, but some nerves are cute. Like it's still a really cool way to see where someone's at and if they're really right, if they really are intentional about it. And then making sure you have that me time as well. That recharge time. It's so important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, so as we start to round out our conversation, any more final thoughts about just our summer of yes, our feral girl hoochie daddy summer of yes?
Yeah, I mean, no final thoughts. I think that I have been really into like shooting my shot in the DMs lately. I know that
Mhm.
like people have trouble with like how to do that. I think
Yeah.
that catering it to someone's profile is really fun. Like I DM'd someone who's a chef yesterday and I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh
fun.
my God, love your cooking videos." I don't know if he'll respond, but like whatever. Like I think you don't get if you don't ask. Like you don't receive if you don't put yourself out there. And I think
Yeah.
that you really should because you miss like 100 shot you miss all of the shots that you don't take. So like
Yes.
just do it. The worst thing that can happen is that someone doesn't respond to you
Hmm.
and that's not so bad.
Yeah, that's true. It's just giving yourself, just saying yes to the possibility, to the opportunity, and just putting yourself out there. Even if yeah, you're moving into the DMs, sliding into the DMs, or you're in person, and maybe like because I've talked about on some other episodes about feeling out the flirt, and all like when I'm working at Trader Joe's, and so you come to my register, and sometimes maybe I am feeling a little bit more tired, or I'm just feeling more reserved that day. Just I'm gonna talk to you, but I'm not really there in that way, and that's okay. But when I am, and I'm feeling it making sure to just ask questions, have a conversation. This isn't a situation where I'm looking to explore a connection to date someone, but what I have learned by just putting myself out there, asking questions, being open to having a connection. I mean, just this week, I met someone, like two people that are doing these work studies on farms, and I asked them all kinds of questions about that and what are they
Cool.
going to be doing, what kinds of farms, and this was fascinating. And so I learned, like, you know what? I think a part of me and my hoochie daddy summer experience is I want to spend more time outside. I want to do more hiking. I want to go strawberry picking. Like, I want to do some of these outdoorsy things. And that was a really great conversation for me to just become more self-aware about what I need in my life right now. And maybe that's the takeaway of meeting someone and talking to them. It may not be a phone number or a date, and that's okay.
Totally. I know. I kept meeting people on dates who told me that they have been to Costa Rica, and I was
Hmm.
just asking them all about Costa Rica, and I'm like,
Yeah.
amazing. Like they literally came into my life because now I really want to go to Costa Rica.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, the synchronicities of the universe.
totally.
That's
Totally.
wild.
Yeah.
This has been absolutely fantastic, Julia. Thank you for sharing this time with me today and with us today. Where can the flirties find you?
Thank you so much for having me on. I had so much fun. I am pretty much done as the podcast everywhere where you can find your podcast. I am PMD Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm sharing all my dating stories there, much
Yes.
to my date's dismay, but follow me there.
Yes, all will be linked in the show notes. Definitely check out the podcast. Follow Julia. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we will continue the conversation with one more bonus question over on Swell. Coming up next, it's story time, and we'll be talking with Susan, a fellow crew member at Trader Joe's, about a long distance tender relationship that happened. Maybe you can relate. Let's meet Susan and find out what the heck happened. On the show today, we have a fellow crew member from Trader Joe's, Susan, who will be sharing a dating story, disaster, dilemma. What's in store? Susan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben. Good to see you. Good to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. You are one of my favorite crew members at Trader Joe's. Don't tell the other crew members. How you doing today?
Not too bad. Kind of a mixed bag of emotions, but
Yeah.
all in all, pretty positive.
All in all, pretty
Yeah.
positive. All right. So we talked a little bit before recording, and I'd love for you to offer the flirties a dating story. Maybe a dilemma, something funny, a situation you've been in. And yes, please share with us.
All righty. Can I talk about 420?
Yes, you can. Yes,
Sorry.
you may.
Okay.
You may. For anyone
Want to
that
make sure.
who doesn't know what 420 is, well, it's a date on the calendar, and it also might involve Mary Jane will say something green, something
Yes.
uplifting. Yeah, that's what we're
Right.
talking about.
Exactly. So, all righty. Well, I went out to my bestie, moved out to Omaha, Nebraska, and
Mhm.
I helped move her out there. And of course, well, I was on Tinder. I'm on Tinder.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize this, but when you go to a different location, Tinder follows you and looks up people in that location.
Yes,
So,
Tinder can track you. Yes.
yes. And so I started getting guys from Omaha, Nebraska in my feed.
Mhm.
And there was one that reached out to me, and we, started the chat, of course, on Tinder, and moved to texting with
Mhm.
our numbers.
Okay.
And just this guy was from rural Nebraska, lives in a town of 400.
Okay.
Right, about 30 minutes from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. So
Okay.
he's real close to a pretty progressive area just because of being a college town.
Okay.
And so we learned that values and views politically, socioeconomically, and feelings. We meshed really well.
Had a lot in
And
common, alignment around
yeah, we had a lot in
key
common.
things.
And so
Okay.
then we moved on. Then we moved, of course, we progressed onto phone calls.
Yep.
And the phone calls would last for hours. And it was so easy to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had really interesting conversations.
Yeah. And this is, if I could ask a question here, this is when are you still out in Nebraska now helping your friend, or you've come back?
No, I've come back. Good question. Thanks for putting that out there, because he pursued me back to North Carolina. Like he saw me, but then I told him I was in North Carolina, but he kept things rolling.
All right. So some long distance,
Very long
dating
distance
of sorts happening. All right. So
yes.
we're located in North Carolina, so quite a distance from Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A little tiny, 400 person town.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we graduated to video chatting, and we did this for this was right before I was hired at Trader Joe's.
Okay.
So this was last September. And so we really meshed a lot. And so he said, well, I need to take a vacation. He said, I've always wanted to see North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, yeah, why not? This could be something. And, why don't you come on out? So we talked about that for a few months, and he made his reservation for the tickets and everything.
Okay.
And he came, I picked him up at the airport. We were excited.
This is the first time you're meeting.
Ever meeting.
Yes. Okay. But he is coming he's come to visit you. So I like that better than the other way around.
And so the trip I had planned was to take him down to the beach.
Perfect.
For a couple nights, come back to Chapel Hill for a night or two, and then go up into the mountains.
Oh, so you've really planned like a whole sort of a really North Carolina.
Planned a whole trip.
Yeah.
Once a travel agent, always a travel agent. Yes. So I planned a whole trip of like the best highlights.
Yes. Okay. Really wanting to showcase our state.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So, it was pretty awkward. We had like a 2.5-hour drive down to the beach.
Yeah.
He was a chain smoker, not only with cigarettes, but also with weed.
Yes.
Conversation was still okay. I could tell he was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
He started commenting on my driving.
Okay.
And that was the first like little pink flag, but I figured, well, he's just super nervous and is in a totally new town, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of, you let that go.
Sure. I've driven with you. You're a great driver. We both.
Oh, well, thank you.
we both have a lead foot, which I appreciate.
Right. And so, I'm smooth like a race car driver. So,
Exactly. Yes.
And so, and you've been, I took him we went to Topsail Beach.
Okay. Good one.
And then we drive, we come back to Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, he was a completely different person than he was on the phone. He ended up he could only eat hamburgers.
Oh.
He would only eat very plain, like not salads.
Yeah.
Not anything.
Okay.
Started being very OCD. Then the alarm bells kind of sort of went off, but I was like, you know what? This is my fucking vacation too. So I'm going to make the best of it. And then we drive up to the mountains and it's just a disaster.
Oh no.
We were not intimate the entire time.
Okay.
Because of the windy roads.
Yes.
In the mountains, which are fun, he would not, he was like white knuckled.
Yeah.
Making comments the whole time. You know, about my driving and stuff. And we were going up to Hot Springs, which is a spa resort in the mountains, and it has fresh spring water hot tubs, so that it's fresh hot springs. And so I booked a reservation for us. So we're in this beautiful hot tub space, all by ourselves, overlooking this beautiful babbling brook, and we're both naked, of course. Nothing. No kisses, no holding my hand, no anything. Just sat there and smoked his weed and smoked his cigarette. Yeah. And like that was it. It was very, very odd. And the next day we drove through Batcave. Yeah. And so, yes, I had a great time. We drove through Batcave and he was like, finally I can get a burger. So yeah. He, it was just complaint after complaint after complaint about the whole trip. Yeah. Yeah. And so we got back. I sent him off. Yes. I was like, phew, that's was over. Way out of my box, way beyond my box. I'm glad, totally pushed the envelope. Glad I did it for the experience and the adventure. Okay. And then just kind of mortified that that I was kind of, believing the best in this person. Right. And it turns out to be different again. And it's like, dang, I need, it's disappointing to me that I either can't be as excited and giddy as I want to be in the beginnings of a relationship and even continuing it through. That there has to be, I need skepticism. I need low expectations. It's like I have to quell my positive, loving energy. I don't want to say that I have to be guarded, but it is, and that's what I have to learn. And that's, kind of my pattern or, the way things sort of work. Sure. Yeah, I see. I see what you're saying. All right, so he goes back to Nebraska, and was there any communication after that? Yeah, it faded out slowly. It was just and I told him and he took it all in stride. Okay. But I told him straight up that he did not represent himself at all to me. Okay. That anxious, obsessive, compulsive side of himself at all. And I guess you would never know that, but good thing I found out. I don't know. It's like there's a balance. Sure. Us Libras like that balance. Yeah, and it's the kind of thing. It's you can present yourself in one way over text, and as you did move to phone calls and video calls, and so you're getting some face-to-face interaction. He's a real person. But when you are spending time together, kind of doing the normal things of life, I think he was high the whole time and very, very detached from the experience and not actually trying to get to know you. But I relate with Great you insight. On this because I've oftentimes been the same dater as the person that gives people the benefit of the doubt, looks for the best in people.
maybe disguises red flags as pink flags and sort of is like, you know what, absent of sort of anything super offensive or egregious, like, let me keep going, let me keep going. But to your point, I understand wanting to be guarded, but then it's like, because as we were chatting a little bit before recording and just what's you've been going through personally and, ending a connection and sort of being like, oh, did I miss some of those signs and signals? But it's so much about being in your own selfhood in many ways, choosing yourself, validating yourself, and then seeing where the other person comes to the table and how they ultimately show up for you. What was something after this, maybe one learning lesson or something you learned about yourself that you could impart on the flirties today?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Well, I mean, attitude is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a balance with that. And, I look back on it now. At the time I was like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
pretty mortified. But, in the end, you really need, I love detectives.
Mm-hmm.
And mysteries and murder mysteries. I don't want to be in a murder mystery, but I love
You like watching them.
Detective skills. And so maybe, my twist is put those detective skills to work a little bit longer or a little bit deeper. Try not to overanalyze, but have a healthy skepticism when going through anything, and just keep your energy level within yourself as positive as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're worth it. You're worth, we're all worth having love.
Yes.
And maybe not the love we need from one person.
Mm-hmm.
But that love can be spread, and you take it for what it is, that positive emotion in the moment of when you're needing it most.
Yeah.
And you can get that from your circle of support, and it just can enhance your own self-worth and the energy you project out to people, which hopefully, attracts the people that you really want to be in touch with and have in your life.
The beautiful lesson, and having the skepticism somewhat be about not making those assumptions about who someone could be or who you think they are. Susan, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And,
that was fun. I hope it was helpful.
I hope so too. I think it will be. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to certainly your story or parts of your story. Thank you for being a part of Flirtations, and I'll see you at work. I'll see you at the store.
Okay. Alrighty.
Okay.
Cool beans. Bye, Ben.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Flirtations. It has been an absolute joy to bring you these first, I can't even believe it, 3 episodes, and I have got so much more in store. This is so exciting for me. Thank you for being here. We can continue the conversation over on Swell, where you'll find bonus clips, extended interviews. Of course, there's Flirt Talk and Flirtstagram. You can reach out to me via email, and my fantastic collaborators, Joey doing the music, Corey the sound mixing, engineering, and editing. All their information is linked below. Thank you so much for being here. Happy flirting!